You know, the best song ever, by the way, by the Boomtown Rats. Folks, I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. This is Backstage Meeting for Right Angle at BillWhittle.com. And we were just talking before we went on the ether about this Boomtown Rats song, I Don't Like Mondays, from the 1980s. The best song ever by the Boomtown Rats was actually about the news business. And I'm blanking on the name of it right now. But the whole thing was about on how phony broadcast news is. And I think that, you know, Bob Geldof was prophetic. Or maybe he was just commenting on something that's never changed since the late 70s, early 80s.
Scott,
Dirty Laundry was pretty impressive.
That was good too.
Yeah. Scott, I've been saying it since the old PJ News days about broadcast news. It's Caesar Flickerman's All the Way Down.
That's right. Oh, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, but it was all about just weather and happy talk and stuff like that. And that's, of course, what this show is about, ladies and gentlemen. Just nothing but weather and happy talk. Traffic on the Nines with Bill Whittle and Steve Green. We, this week, are actually going to produce some more of these shows because it's your fault. You continue to watch them.
Inconceivable.
I blame our viewers and members. They continue to watch them. They continue to share them. They continue to subscribe and pay. I just found out yesterday, by the way,
fools,
that one of my brothers, at least, is a subscriber at BillWhittle.com.
Hey,
well, thank him for me, personally.
You know, you never want to pressure your brothers because, like, he doesn't pressure me to buy tickets at United Airlines. So he's got a similarly significant job to mine, you know, keeping alive 400 people across the Atlantic Ocean.
And sometimes dogs.
But anyway, Bill Whittle has the members-only episode this week, and lately we've been just, you know, freely spilling our guts out in public on these things. So I'm hoping this week that Bill is not going to just disgorge the brilliance that he has on the masses, but will rather constrain it to just the elite who subscribe here.
I was thinking I would disgorge what I have inside on the elite who subscribe here. First of all, my regular segment I just saw on Drudge flashing headline: Trump is sending the military to the border.
I just heard that on the radio.
There's this caravan, 1,500 people marching through Mexico. They're going to come to the border. They have a list of demands, and apparently, one of them is that they be treated with human dignity and refugee status. And the second one is the idea that that they are as much citizens of whatever country they live in as the citizens of that country are.
Interesting.
But the fact that he's sending the military is, see, I have this theory about Trump, and that is that he says so much and does so much that's just so embarrassing and stuff. But he seems to get the big things right, and that's good enough for me. I think this is, look, I don't think, needless to say, you put the U.S. Army down there, I don't think it's going to be a shooting situation or a massacre or anything at all like that. But I think in the same way that dropping that Moab on ISIS after, was it day 2 or something, is also an indication like, okay, this is not business as it used to be. So I think I'll do that for the main one.
I think there are a couple of interesting nuances to this story. Number one, my understanding is that this march is actually not comprised primarily of Mexicans, but rather people from Honduras and I believe Guatemala. Who are actually marching up through Mexico. And
so Mexico's allowing this to happen.
Yeah,
obviously.
and who do this apparently on an annual basis. This is like an annual festival of protest that they engage in. So it's not like a sudden uprising, but it's fascinating that they do this, and now we hear about it. Apparently they've been doing it for a number of years, but now we hear about it. The other thing is that Ann Coulter has just been opening up a can of whoop-an on Donald Trump lately, because she said the only reason why she voted for Trump, and knowing all of his weaknesses and all of his foibles and all of his problems, the only reason is because he said he was going to build the darn wall. He led chants of it at every rally that he did. He promised it everywhere he went, and he still hasn't built the wall. And she said that Trump supporters would, of course, be wise to reconsider before re-election time if he's just not doing this. And I think Trump has realized that, hey, even if you can't get funding for the wall, we already got funding for the military, and if you just kind of reallocate some troops, you can kind of put a human flesh wall with a little steel behind it down there.
Yeah, well, that's not a wall, that's a border. and we have a wall because we need a wall because they wouldn't let us have a border. Yeah, he's going to have to get something built. And the question is, can he get it done after November if we lose the House?
Well, the real question is, why didn't he do it this time? This is he was AWOL on or MIA, I should say, on the whole budget process. He turned in that skinny budget last fall, which was actually a really good starting point. It was a great basis, for the art of the budget deal, and then nothing. He didn't sit down with Congress. He didn't negotiate. He didn't work it. And so the vultures that populate the U.S. Congress, and probably have since about 1789, just went in for an absolute feeding frenzy. Trump didn't get anything he wanted because he didn't actually ask for any of it. And then he gets all huffy and surprised, I might have to veto this thing, which was a threat he made after the bill had passed. He was just a no-show on this one. It was awful.
I think there are still some of those vultures from 1789 actually still in Congress.
It's the same
guys.
Not a
large number, but a few. They've been there for 78 terms now. Or whatever the number is. So I guess more like 120 terms, something like that. In any event.
Don't make me do math.
No. And then the second thing I'd like to talk about is not about this Spielberg movie Ready Player One, but it's about, I think it'd be fun to talk to you guys. I did a little 4 or 5 minutes on this on my own. But I'd like to talk about the ethics and the morality of escape. Not just in terms of into the virtual world, but I mean, if you live in a place, if your life and your inner city life or whatever, it doesn't even have to be in America. If your life is so horrendous and miserable, and there's something that offers you a chance to get away from it, would you take it? Should you take it? The problem, of course, is that usually by escaping, you don't do anything to actually improve the situation. In fact, virtually every time you make it worse. But it's easy for us to say, sitting here in our air-conditioned houses in America, that no, you should just go out there and do that. When in many cases, most of these cases, I personally believe that anybody can lift themselves out of that situation, out of poverty. Anywhere in the world, I genuinely believe can do it. But that's only saying that I believe that I could do it or you could do it if we were to find ourselves in those situations, because we've been raised a certain way with a certain kind of values. And so this is coming whether we like it or not. This is a form of... it's worse than an addiction. Because this is a choice. This is a choice to leave reality.
This habitual addictive gaming, you mean?
Gaming, or to some degree, the drug use. Yeah.
I think even social media is another aspect of that. You get lost in all these pretend relationships.
Yep.
And all the constant turmoil and drama. I think that
I'm convinced that Stephen Green brought that up because this week, Steve and I are celebrating our 10th anniversary on Facebook as friends together.
That's right, we are. That's right. I saw that yesterday.
Did you hear what he called that relationship? A pretend relationship is what he said.
Not that one. We actually know each other. But you get on Twitter and you look at the list of people that you follow or that you've got on your various lists that you follow, and how many of those people do you actually know or even want to know?
Bill, the great thing about how they make this little video that they cobble together out of your photos and they say, hey, you're celebrating your 10th anniversary. Sure. So me and Steve Green are celebrating our 10th anniversary on Facebook. Almost every single picture included Steve Green and Bill Whittle and me.
Oh, my God.
There's no me and Steve Green without you. Is what I'm saying.
trying to distance myself from this catastrophe, and this interpersonal... goat rodeo that you guys have going on here, but apparently
it's a bromance.
The algorithms will not let me escape. Every time I try to get out, it pulls me back in. So those will do it for me today.
All righty. Well,
nice.
Stephen Green, in honor of our 10th anniversary, would you like to do a show this week on Right Angle?
I was thinking about doing a show this week on Right Angle, Scott, just for you.
Thank you. To
celebrate our 10 years. I've been avoiding this one for weeks or months now, but there's finally, well, maybe I shouldn't say finally, but there's now an interesting legal angle that I would like to talk about. And it's the whole Stormy Daniels non-disclosure lawsuit. That's how long is this? When did this break? In the fall, I guess. So six months now.
I can't disclose that when it broke. I'm sorry. I'm contractually obligated to keep that
not to
confidential.
say. Yeah, you'll notice that Stormy Daniels has never said my name. I'll just throw that out there. No, what's interesting is Trump's lawyers are arguing in court this week, and this is from the New York Times write-up, that they would like to settle this privately through arbitration. And Stormy Daniels' lawyer, of course, is saying, no, we want to waive all of this dirty laundry in public because behind closed doors is sort of, well, tawdry.
It's what got us here in the first place. Yeah.
Yes, if you can use that word again on this case. And so we've got something interesting here, and this precedent was kind of set with Bill Clinton. Can a president be sued while in office? And the answer was yes. And I had, even though it was against a president I didn't vote for or particularly like, I had some serious qualms about going forward with a lawsuit against Bill Clinton while he was sitting as president.
I agree.
And now we have the situation where the parties are reversed. The situation is just as tawdry. And where do we stand on this and why?
I think Bill Clinton was kind of elected on being Mr. I don't want to say Mr. Clean exactly, but, family guy. And I know he had a bit of a sleazy history, but he denied everything. And, it was one, if it turns out that this is true, I don't imagine a lot of minds are going to be changed about Donald Trump,
No.
I think this is the thing that the left keeps missing about the guy. They seem to think that we don't know these things about the guy, and if we did know, then we'd hate him as much as they do. And our response is, no, we're pretty much aware of all of this stuff.
There was years ago, I started writing a screenplay, and it was called The Dark Horse. And the idea was this guy was going to run for office, but he just didn't want to deal with all the sleaze of the campaigning and everything. So what he decided to do was, in his opening press conference announcing his candidacy, he said every horrible thing that he'd ever done in his life. Documented
That's funny you say that. I've said that many times,
that.
and I never knew that you wrote about that. I've made that statement several times. I said, here's everything I've done wrong. I thought if any one of these is disqualifying, but at least now you know them, and the one thing you'll never see is me standing here lying to you because I've just told you everything that the press could ever have on me.
And in a sense, Donald Trump has done that, although not so formally or not all at once, because Donald Trump used to call the local newspapers in New York City and leak information about who he was accompanying.
This is where it gets really weird. Trump would call these newspaper people claiming to be his own PR guy, his own PR flack named Barron. And then years later, he actually names his son after his fake name when dealing as a fake PR agent with the New York City tabloids. You could never put this stuff in a screenplay, Scott, because it would never fly on a movie screen.
Yeah. What was the name of that series on HBO with the mafiosa?
The Sopranos.
Yeah. It was like, this is how you get elected to run the mob, and nobody's afterwards going to go, hey, that guy running the mob is corrupt.
Right.
So,
yes.
Now I'm not.
I think my point obviously is at this point is I don't think anybody's going to be particularly shocked or particularly moved.
No.
I mean, if he could come out of Atlantic City smelling like a rose, he's going to be fine here. There's not going to be a problem.
Right.
And that's not to take away from him all the fine things that he's done recently, but I think you just got to be honest. You can't BS it and treat him like he's some sort of choir boy. After all, I'm not the entire, Christian right in this country.
I can't spare this man. He fights.
That's right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to, Bill. You've got to use that Lincoln line.
Yeah.
When we tape the actual segment.
It's a Lincoln log line, I think, for his new screenplay. So it's just me now, right? We got one more?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're
okay. This may sound boring, but it turns out that a lot of people in Generation Z are bored with their smartphones. And that a lot of times when they're on their smart devices, they are actually not engaged. And now that's not to say that there aren't times when they are intensely engaged in posting content and reading and liking things, stuff like that. But a lot of times when you see young people with phones in their hands, they're just kind of scrolling eternally through it. They just kind of lost their will to live. And they're just,
no.
And I thought, what a fascinating cultural phenomenon. This device that, Stephen Jobs thought was going to transform the world.
And it did.
In a sense has, yes. But, this has I found out last night that I can go to Microsoft will teach you how to do everything that it would take to work any job at Microsoft. You can learn for free from Microsoft on the internet. You can take courses. You can actually get certificates. Well, you have to pay $99 for the paper, but you can take the courses for free. Stanford University and MIT have put their entire curricula online so that you can get it. Pictures of the most magnificent things in the world that you would never possibly see. It's all right here in our hands. And we have literally gotten to the point where we're just going. And when they said it's Generation Z, I thought, no, it isn't. It's Generation Me.
Except, isn't that what they Generation Me? It was either a name for the late baby boomers or early Gen X. I can't remember.
Really, I'm saying me personally. I'm saying I've done this. I must be a late appearing Generation Z guy. I'm supposedly like a late baby bopper or whatever it was, but I have. I find myself doing the same thing, and you see other people in your family or your friends or whatever, and perhaps the greatest tragedy of the era is that we have now had the power to do everything. Magic is in our hands, and we are bored by it.
Well, this disproves the entire socialist idea of welfare, and the entire idea that that you're going to give these people who aren't working. You're going to basically pay their subsistence so that they can get jobs and get out of welfare. No one ever really seems to say, even though everybody knows it's true, that this is the means of support for so many millions of Americans now. But the fact is, you can become a plumber online. You can become virtually anything online, and you're right. People are downloading music instead of downloading how to become an accountant. And it goes to show you that this idea that all of our ills in society are caused by lack of access. If only we had more money to give everybody a computer so that they could all have access to the information base. It's like, yes, 1 in 1,000 people would take advantage of that. And the rest of them be playing video games and downloading porn, and that's the way it goes. And if you don't understand that about human nature, none of this makes any sense.
And this picture here, I don't know if anybody can see this. This is a picture I took. That's the flywheel of I believe, a 6-cylinder motor that's in my pickup truck. I went to YouTube this week because our 19-year-old car was making ungodly noises. And in an effort to sanctify those noises, I replaced the serpentine belt. And in order to do so, I had to replace the tensioner pulley. Now, the things that just spewed out of my mouth, I barely know what I'm saying. But like you just said, Bill, I went to YouTube. I watched a couple of Humpties from Somewhereville do this operation on the same car that I have.
Oh, nice.
And then I ran over to AutoZone, bought the parts, started the work, then ran over to AutoZone again and got the things I forgot. And and in 2 hours, I had a 19-year-old car back on the road again because of this magnificent device that people are bored to death with.
I was out in the middle of nowhere once in a rental car, and I pulled in for some gas, and I spent 15 minutes trying to find the gas unlock thing for the I could not find it. I was down on my knees with the light. I couldn't find it. And then I got on, I had cell phone reception. I got on YouTube. I said, gas cap, the 2011 Corolla.
Yeah.
And boom. Oh, that's where you hit it, you bastards.
Nice.
But then instantly, I'm in. And, yeah, it's amazing. And it's depressing, too.
In the days long before YouTube, I was a young man in my, 21, 22 years old. I had to rebuild the carburetor on my Mazda B2000 mini truck. And it was then that I vowed that I had to start making better money so I would never have to rebuild another carburetor as long as I lived.
Now,
Terrible job.
That was the effect that it had on Steve. The effect that it had on me is a kid who went through his entire life thinking he has no mechanical abilities, zero. I grew up with a grandfather who was an engineering genius and would solve any problem and would make tools to then make things to solve problems. And I thought, wow, I'm nothing. And now I have found this whole new area that I love. So anyway, I'm hoping this show will be what you just said, Bill, awesome and depressing. And I think really that should be the slogan for Right Angle.
That should be the slogan for our company, for BillWhittle.com. That's not only our slogan, it's our mission statement. Wow.
So ladies and gentlemen,
Scott, hang on, quick question. What's the age cohort for Gen Z? When did that start?
When did Generation Z start?
But
I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with it.
All right. I need to find out before I can talk about this if my two boys are Gen Z or Gen Z plus.
So here we go. As members who've been dubbed Generation Z, it's a cohort that spans those born roughly between the years 98 and 2010.
Okay, so I've got one Zer. Oh no,
those
I've got
millennials.
Yeah. No, millennials are the ones who started. They were born in from the mid '80s to the late '90s.
Oh, so they kind of came of age at the turn of the millennium.
Yeah.
So Gen Z is younger than millennials.
Yes.
Yeah. And the kids they're quoting in these stories are like 14 years old, 17 in some cases. Here's a 15-year-old in Long Island. So it's fascinating. And I'll tell you what I want when we do this show. What I want to make sure that we don't do is what geezers typically do, and all these young people think. All the young people think that old people have no appreciation for technology, and we think that they're not doing anything but absolutely wasting their time every time they're on their devices. And I think that there's something deeper going on here, and I don't think it's limited to Generation Z.
Okay.
Fun.
So, anyway, gentlemen, but of course, if you want to state what I just debunked as your opinion, feel free to do so. You may actually believe what I just said was nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, it's this awesome and depressing BillWhittle.com. It's awesome because you're here supporting this effort. It's depressing because it doesn't get any better than this, really. Even though month after month you arise with hope, thinking that somehow it's going to improve. No, that's not true. And if you haven't seen what Bill did, he obliquely referenced the fact that he had done this Ready Player One review. You need to catch that. Is that on BillWhittle.com, Bill, or just on YouTube?
You know, it's funny. It's on YouTube and Facebook, and I have to put a new channel up on BillWhittle.com because I'm going to try and do these every day.
That'll be nice.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that means once a week, Bill will be doing these videos, and you need to.
That was a cold
wow,
thing to say,
Scott
man.
again with the shiv right between the ribs, man.
Just But seriously, it was really cool. And there's one where Bill's just sitting in his backyard, and there's another one where he's sitting there, and the whole time, he's sort of looking off camera. And by the way, he said he did this by himself. And I would just say, Bill, that thing that you did by yourself had really nice camera work.
Thank you very much. I did one in a helicopter yesterday.
Yes, I saw that one too.
Yeah.
It was only like 27 seconds long.
We need a new page for that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's I think part of Bill's gradual awakening to the fact that the internet is not 1973 broadcast television Roone Arledge, and it's good.
I'm still feeling the agony of defeat, man. It's.
And so, as we mark the passing of Stephen Bochco, speaking of 1970s TV, died this week. Hill Street Blues creator,
really?
NYPD Blue. We bid you adieu here so we can get back to work on creating Right Angle. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.